Hello everybody and welcome back to the YesEpicYes channel. Now today we've got another product review for you here today. This here is the Angetube 967 Pro webcam. Yes, I have to check that. I have reshot this 3 times now and every single time I've forgotten those numbers. There is so much to talk about this webcam that honestly it's difficult to remember all the different points it has. So I'm just going to go over the basics for the beginning and then we'll get a little bit more in depth as it goes on. So to start, this is a 1080p webcam. It has HDR capability, which means that if you're shooting in HDR, you need to drop your frame rate down to 30 FPS. So it does have HDR enabled, but it's at a little bit of a cost. I haven't tried this camera as of yet. All of this is going to be first time. I've got a laptop here beside me. I've opened the box, checked it out, made sure that everything's there, and beyond that I haven't gone any further with it. So this is a first for both you and I. I'm just going to read what's on the box for a start. So you've got wide angle views, larger capture, so that's your actual focal lens. You've got a wider aperture. Automatic low light correction, background replacement, which is quite interesting. I'll be interested to see how it does that. I don't know as to whether or not this has built-in software or not, so that'll be interesting. Precise white balance adjustment and a dual microphone. So they're your kind of standard bits on this. It shoots and compresses your video into H.264 automatically. So for people who don't know a huge amount about cameras, you can shoot in a multitude of different ways. You can shoot in MP4, I think it's MGEV, H.264 as a compression method for different formats. Essentially, this camera automatically applies those compression rates. That's what that does. So that means that when you are shooting your video, you are going to have less storage needed to save your video because it's compressed. And then also if you're doing live streaming, you're going to have a lot less latencies or potential Wi-Fi issues if you have slower internet, because you're not uploading nearly as much data because it is compressed. So that's the main benefits to that. Alongside that, it has autofocus, as it was saying there. So that means that that's your standard autofocus, but I don't know as to whether or not it has auto framing. Now I do know that it has a zoom mode and you have a manual zoom button on the back of the camera for a 5 times, I believe it's optical zoom. But it's so far a very, very interesting camera. If it lives up to even half of what it says it's capable of doing, then this is a really, really great item. It comes in at about 80 bucks plus shipping. So you're looking at about $100 maximum for this webcam. And there's not really a whole lot else to say other than let's get the hell into it. So I'm gonna go ahead and open this up here. We've got a white plastic insert like most kind of products like these have. We've got our instruction manuals on the bottom. I'm going to put this down here to the side. We've got instruction manuals on the bottom as well as a cap. Now this is something that I really, really appreciate. For somebody who has a lot of cameras around just about everywhere, being able to optionally turn on and turn off your camera at the absolute, so not just an on-off switch, but as a cover, really, really nice. Privacy guard. And then you've got your warranty, you've got your stream webcam information. So this is essentially just your touch controls. There is a small touch control on the front of the camera, which can do different things based on what you're wanting it to do. But it's got, I believe, 3 or 4 different light modes. So it does have a built-in light, a ring light on the camera so you can illuminate yourself. Really, really nice touch, by the way. I'm just going to put that down. So then in the actual box here, the first thing that we have is a USB-A to USB-C, which is very, very nice. I believe they're USB-A. Standard USB is USB-A, I believe. But that is a really nice touch to have because the laptop that I'm trying it on actually doesn't have a spare USB port. It only has a spare USB-C port. So really nice touch. I'm going to be trying this out today as well because some of these I know in the past have had problems with data transfer rates and that kind of thing. Really, really nice touch. And then we've got the actual webcam itself, and that is literally all that is in the box. The webcam itself and nothing else. So the webcam looks like this. On the back here, there's a tiny, tiny little button right there. That is your zoom. So that's a touch button. I don't know how well that's going to pick up. I haven't set up any audio for this video because we're going to be switching to this audio midway through, so I didn't think that it was necessary. And then you have your light switch on the front, which is a touch control. Really, really, really nice. Really nice. And then you have your 1080p or HDR at different frame rates on the front, telling you exactly what it is. It has a standard monitor mounting bracket, so I think my white face is going to be the best thing to show this off. You've got a little foot there at the bottom, and you got that. So that hooks on, if you can imagine, the front of your monitor is here. That plate then with that foot goes up behind it, and that then just presses on and sits there. Standard way of doing it. It appears to be almost metal, I want to say. The ring here that I'm touching feels like metal. It's got a whole load of different grips on it, as in it's got lines on it to give it grip that you'd normally see in metal, but it feels lighter than something that could be metal. So I'm not quite 100%. And then this zoom button as well, if you hold this button, it will change your HDR or 1080p mode, and if you touch the button, it'll change your zoom. Cool. All right, enough of the chatting. Why don't we go ahead and get into this? What I'm going to do is, there isn't a huge amount of cable here, so I'm not going to be able to set it up like I have here. What I will do is I'll put it onto my laptop, and then I'll be using it as a webcam on the laptop. So I'll be able to show you a comparison as well. So let's go ahead and get into that version. Okay, hello everybody, and we are now on the Angetube. Now, I don't know as to possibly it's because of where I have my computer, because it is quite close to me, or if it's because of just the setting that I'm in, but it's having quite a hard time picking up my face. There's a lot of movement for it to try and understand, but you can see here the different zoom modes, and as I zoom, my focus changes. So let's get all the way out there. Okay. The autofocus is having a hard time, and I don't know as to whether or not that's because of my LEDs. But there we go. That now, once I'm moving and it's obvious that I'm the focus of the subject, or I'm the subject of the focus, then it seems to lock on to me pretty damn well. You know, moving in and out, I'm staying in focus there, and then once I get past it, I'm out, and then regaining it. It's the regaining of it that takes a little bit of time. It's not quite able to pick up who or what it's meant to be focusing on, and I don't know if that's also possibly because of my piercings. That could have something to do with the facial recognition. It usually uses noses, eyes, and mouths, as well as then some of the kind of like facial structures, the actual shape of the whole face. And I don't know if possibly these are just slightly irritating the eye working. Let's go ahead here and long hold. And sorry for interjecting halfway through. I'm going to get the editor to put this in midway, but I realized after completing my video that I had completely forgotten to do any kind of dark testing with the ring light. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Okay, Google, turn off lights. So I still have a light on in my room. I still have the main lights, but this here is a darker environment. So facing that way, I'm going to get lighter. This way, I'm going to get darker. So as you can see, it's a darker environment. Let's go ahead and test this out. So second mode there, already I'm starting to look a little bit washed out. So this is not a dark enough environment to need the highest level, but overall, I think that that's doing pretty damn good. Like, for example, if I was in my normal setup with my Logitech camera and I was in this light mode, I would be seeing a huge amount more noise over on this side. There is a little bit of noise, but it's minimum. You know, there's a little bit of noise right there. You're getting some pixels that are green and red. That might not even show up on YouTube because they're so small. But I would normally have You could literally see pixels with my Logitech because it was trying to auto white balance, which is what that noise is. This camera has much, much better capability on that. And I'm gonna move just slightly forward here into a shadow. Equally, once again, very, very good. This camera actually is making my room look brighter than it is. My room is not this bright. So dark mode gets a thumbs up for sure. Sorry for cutting in through the video. Make sure to go ahead and keep watching. Okay, so long holding on that completely turned off the video whatsoever, but we are now in 1080p mode rather than HDR mode. And as you can see, the autofocus on it is much better. So unfortunately, it's showing every gap that I have in my facial hair. I am trying. Basically, the way that I see this is that your HDR mode is for something like, say, a family video. If you're going to set this webcam up in a room that is a relatively large room and you're going to have a few people on it, or if you're of a darker skin tone, HDR might be the thing for you, because obviously you're going to pick up a lot more detail because of them. But with something like this, where I'm doing a webcam, say for a video conference or something like that, and you're not using it for a wide field of view, I think that this is probably the mode that I would be using it in, which I believe is a 1080p 60 FPS just by looking at the video. Then your zoom in on the 1080p is also better because there's so much less having to be done. Oh, that's unique. I don't know as to whether or not that's because of the webcam or that's because of my app. If I zoom in, that removes. Zoom in, zoom out, zoom in, and there it's gone. Okay, so there's a couple of minor software issues that I can see with this webcam, but overall its quality seems to be incredibly crisp. I have a Logitech, I can't remember the name of it, the standard Logitech webcam that most people use for streaming. That's what I say it is because that's what everybody knows it as. I've got one of the older versions of that that's running at 60 FPS 1080p. It does not look this good. I can tell you without a doubt, it does not look this good. It doesn't look this good even as the small webcam image at the bottom of my screen for when I'm recording. This is extremely, extremely clear, and its bitrate doesn't seem to be changing. Its constant 60 FPS is giving a really, really smooth outlook. I haven't got to actually listen to the audio as of yet because this is the first video that I've recorded on it, but after the audio impression, if it's half as good as the video impression currently is, then I think that this is a real winner. Does it have a couple of problems? Yes, of course it does. What camera doesn't? You have to remember, this camera has no software. I've plugged it in, I have absolutely no software. I am using the absolute standard Windows 10 camera app. I'm not running this through OBS, I'm not running any post-processing on it other than maybe what our editor puts in, if he puts in anything. Apart from that, there is absolutely nothing here that is being changed. And for a 1080p camera, this is really, really good. The HDR needs a little bit of work on its autofocusing, which is where I think that hardware issue comes in. Similarly with changing the focal point there was a weird glitch about here down on the screen. I don't know whether or not that was my side or the video side, but there was a strange thing that basically this whole thing was like a waterfall of colors from here. So all my colors were just cascading down. But I have to say, this zoom functionality as well with the light functionality, that little touch light on the front, that is so, so handy. For somebody who records often at night, being able to just turn that on and turn that off whenever I would like is so, so helpful. And as well as that, the zoom is really, really good. That doesn't look to me like optical zoom, to be perfectly honest, but I can only assume that it is. You've got great detail. You've got really, really great detail on the camera. Now, as you zoom in, things do get a little bit more blurry, but that also might be just simply, well, I mean, you're not meant to look at a webcam like this. You know, you're meant to look at a camera at this rate. So it's probably where I have it set up. But this webcam is really, really nice. It's really, really sleek. It looks great on top. I've got my privacy cover for it. And I don't know that there's a huge amount else to say. It really comes down to what your preference is. I think the price for this is very, very reasonable. It does have a couple of minor issues in relation to its autofocusing, as I said, but I think that that's probably something that is based on how I'm using it rather than how the camera normally operates, because this is quite evidently the mode that I should have been in when I was first testing it compared to the other. But I promised I was going to do this with you guys, so I did do this with you guys. So remember, if your camera looked like mine in the first half, make sure to hold that button on the back, because that turns you off from HDR mode, which seemingly has worse autofocus. Really, really nice. Really, really nice camera. I love how well it keeps me in focus. It's not perfect, but then again, this is better than my $3,000 Lumix, by far. In terms of its autofocusing in this, now I know its focal range is much broader than what my thing is, but its autofocusing of me moving in here and out, you can see how the background went blurry there. That is way better than my Lumix. This is more like my Lumix, where it's doing this. But it catches me relatively quickly, and it tends to keep me in pretty good focus. Overall, really, really nice. I love how clean the image is. I like the fact that it's doing a very small amount of... I don't know if it's post-processing or if it's because of the light, but it looks a bit to me like post-processing. My pores generally look a little bit clearer, I think. Overall, great webcam. If you'd like to go ahead and support Angetube or support the channel, please use the link down below if you're interested in this product. If you are new here, please do consider subscribing. What did you think about this video? I mean, you guys are the ones who make these decisions on webcams and web equipment. What do you guys think? Thank you guys so much for watching. If you are new here, please do join us, and I will see you all in the next one. Goodbye.